welcome once again to another installment of The Persistent Rumor. I am Chocolate Yoddah, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. And with me, as always, is my heterosexual life mate, Chancleta.
Hola, muchachos. How are ya?
An international, multilingual episode.
That's it.
If you don't say anything else in Spanish, it still counts.
There you go. That's fine. I'm just gonna keep it at that. I even try to really zing it with the accent there, just so that it doesn't sound like somebody's ordering Mexican food at a restaurant.
Like the soup Nazi. Adios, muchachos.
Yeah.
So before we continue, I would like to acknowledge our new Patreon supporters. You people are the people that are making this possible. You contributed and contribute to our channel and support our podcast, and that way we can continue making this content. So, in no particular order, Anna D, thank you. Joe C, thank you. He was a guest on one of our episodes, but I'm not going to say his last name. You'll figure it out. But
yeah.
Anyway, Michael D, another high school buddy, and T, just goes by T. She's a Facebook friend and a wonderful person, and thank you all for your support. That being said,
Chancleta loves you too, baby.
Chancleta loves you too. It sounds like one of those things that
it's a children's book.
A father says on visitation day.
I think that's going to be a working title for a child's book. It's like,
Chancleta loves you too.
For Latin American kids, Chancleta loves you too, baby. That's it. You know where I'm coming from.
That's almost certain to be traumatizing.
It's not going to make the #1 bestseller. I'll tell you that. Yeah, that's it. We're going to get might get a cult following. Who knows how it works?
There you go. Always cult following is a good thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Gives
you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah,
but mostly what it enables you to do, because I think this is the #1 draw of being a cult leader. Yannis Pappas talks about this. No matter what cult you're talking about, invariably, the #1 benefit to being a cult leader is banging everybody's wife.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I am fucking up. I spent all this time in IT, and I could have been a cult leader, right?
All you got out of it is a few homes and taking care of your family. You selfish.
Crazy. What kind of life do I lead?
Oh, man. So, once again, you're worrying? What the f*** did I turn into R. Kelly just there?
You had a hard day at work, my friend.
Once again, you're wearing your Persistent Rumor merch.
The TPR swag, bro.
Man, look at this one. Oh.
Fucking drip. Look at the drip. If I stretch it, it looks like it's being sucked into a black hole. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm fucking loopy.
So both of these shirts are, well, I don't know if yours is not available. Mine is.
Yours is available. Yes. This is a custom. This is a custom
one of a kind.
That's it.
If you want that, it's going to cost so much extra.
That's it. You got to tickle my feet.
Yeah. Oh, man. So once again, what's on your mind, chum?
Dude, I got to tell you something. It's been 7 months since the elections, and taxpayer money's being wasted on ballot count still. Like, and here's the thing. I'll be the first to say it. If there was actually a thing going on, I'll be the first to be like, yo, that's not cool. If Biden actually stole the election, I'd be like, yo, f*** that dude. F*** the Democrats, f*** everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get it. I get how important that is. We're talking about dudes that are saying like, yo, we're checking for bamboo on the paper because I heard they flew ballots in from China and ballots in from South Korea, and they use bamboo on their paper, and so we find bamboo.
The guys that are complaining about this are from the Bronx.
I'm just saying it like I'm seeing it, bro. I don't know where these guys are from. You know what? Maybe there's 2 or 3 guys from the Bronx. I'm not saying we're perfect, but yo, Like we're talking about people that are talking about that they shredded the actual ballots, fed it to chickens, and incinerated chickens. Like, look, yeah, right?
That is the first time I heard that part. That's hilarious. So they decided that it's not enough to incinerate ballots. You have to feed them the chickens first and take the chickens out. So it's a twofer.
It's a twofer. Yeah,
you're eliminating ballots and chickens at the same time because everybody knows that there's too many chickens in the world.
Yeah, because that's what Democrats do. It just be like, oh yeah, let's just feed the chickens that we can otherwise profit from. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here, man. You guys make no fucking sense.
There's nothing in any of those arguments that makes any sense at all.
No,
it's so childish and so insane that it really isn't worth talking about. I mean, for shits and giggles, yeah, I get it, but it's not. Come on, how can you take any of that stuff seriously? It's impossible. You know, when you talk about 150 million votes cast, and the only thing you can come up with is possibly 10 instances of voter fraud, that is statistically non-existent, and you have just as much to worry about from a unicorn invasion as you do voter fraud. It just doesn't exist. And the travesty is, of course, as you mentioned, taxpayer money that could go to feeding people and fixing the infrastructure and education and economic stimulus and all that stuff is being wasted on nonsense. You know, it's a crime.
It's wasted on nonsense and I don't know how it's allowed, to be honest, because it's like, look,
because they're the ones in charge of how they spend money.
Well, so here's the thing. This is being audited by a third party group called, they're called Cyber Ninjas or something to that effect. And so
that sounds like an episode of Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle, whatever the fuck they're called.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, I get it.
Come on, man.
But that's the point, though.
Cyber Ninjas.
This is what I'm on about. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to the point where it looks like an episode. It looks like I'm watching SNL. Like, right. and so here's the thing. So it's not like the state Senate or you know, some sort of body is doing this audit again. Like, whatever. This is just some off-branch third-party entity, and they're leasing space where there's a carnival happening. And so when the carnival's in or whatever, they have to, like, it's a shit show. And it's like, but taxpayer money's being spent.
We're going to stamp out voter fraud, but not when the carnival's in town. We don't.
But then here's the thing. So let's say best case scenario, you find voter fraud, and you find enough to be like, oh wow, this is a problem here, and then okay, so you won Arizona, then what? You know what I mean? And I know that what could happen is like, okay, well, if there was fraud in Arizona, I could see that there might be fraud and we have to investigate the other states, et cetera. And
that's not how evidence works.
Well,
it doesn't work where there's an automatic chain of events that happens if one thing is true.
I'm guessing this is where they're trying to go, because I just don't see the point otherwise.
They're not trying to do anything. The only thing they're trying to do is maintain power, period. This has nothing to do with justice. This has nothing to do with democracy. Nothing. They know they belong to a vestigial political party that has been on the wrong side of history for 50 fucking years now, and just gets worse at every election cycle. They have conceded the position of having better ideas. They know that they don't have better ideas for governance. So their only idea is to rig elections. That's what this is all about. They all this legislature that they put forth in 43 states, it's all about rigging the vote. It's all about stopping black people from voting and making sure that you can gerrymander and all this other shit. It's nonsense.
Because it's honestly the only chance.
They have no ideas.
It's the only chance they have to win at this point. If there
Yeah,
was no
that's what I
redlining,
said.
if there was no redlining, but that's what I'm saying. If there was no redlining or gerrymandering or any of that, like they would,
Redlining is that's a real estate thing. But go ahead.
well, whatever the fuck it is. So, if there was no
Just stop it. No,
gerrymandering,
your attitude sucks. I don't like what you're saying right now.
comb your beard. Oh no. I'm talking. So, but the point is that they really just don't have a shot to win if that was the case.
Yeah.
Right? And so we don't really do the we don't really do the popular vote thing. We do like this, plural, like we should
But
be
America never has. America has never once been a democracy that is represented by one person, one vote. Never, never, ever has that been true.
Yeah.
Like, how could you call yourself the beacon of democracy when you've never exercised democracy? Not fully.
You're scared. That's what it is. They're scared to lose their power. And that's all it is. It's just really just hey, it's like, it's an arm wrestling contest back and forth, and it's just like, and at this point it's just like it's never gonna get better. At the stage we're in right now, the problems that we need to resolve are gonna take years to resolve. So there's not going to be like a two-term presidency that's going to fix everything, because every time we, make a step, take a step forward, we take two steps back.
Well, yeah, that's a in my opinion, pardon me, a function of the stupidity of the average citizen. Well, maybe stupidity is too harsh. The ignorance of the average citizen, the lack of attention span of the average citizen. If you see a party progressing, making positive changes, putting more money in your pocket, and creating the intangibles, like a more comfortable society and things like that, why not keep supporting that party? Even though an individual president cannot do more than 2 terms, a political party can. There's no restrictions for that.
Right.
So if you see, and just for the record, I am neither Republican nor Democrat. I am independent because I don't want to be part of the Hatfields, McCoys mentality of fucking America. However, if you just sit back and objectively look at the history of these two parties, especially in the last 40, 50 years, it's pretty clear which party balances the budget, which party creates economic stimulus, which party has far fewer criminals in it, which party is actually interested in the citizenry that they represent. It's clear that it's the Democratic Party. It's not even close.
No.
And that in no way, shape, or form is an endorsement of the Democratic Party. It is not saying that the Democratic Party is perfect. It is saying that based on history, the Democratic Party in the last 50 years has made far better progress, and the kind of progress that doesn't just benefit them and their pocket. Because you know what? If you get into politics to become wealthy, more power to you. That's the way the game is laid out. But that doesn't mean that other people have to suffer for you to get wealthy.
Right.
And the Democrats seem to know that you can rise the tide so that all boats rise.
Right.
Right. Rather than just say, no, we're going to hoard. We're going to redistrict. We're going to gerrymander. We're going to suppress votes. We're going to pass oppressive legislation. We're going to bring about more Jim Crow era types of legislation to disenfranchise Black and brown voters. It's just absurd.
I believe
and it's so obvious. I don't know what the debate is about which party is better.
That's not, and to your point, that's not to say that there's not candidates within each, within the Democratic Party that aren't, that haven't done f***ed up or whatever. But by and large, there's been way more progress on the Democratic side for the vast majority of people than ever on the Republican side in the last 40, 50 years. So,
Yeah.
like,
A
there's no
Republican
comparison.
administration has never balanced the budget.
No. And so, but they have this, but they have the fiscally conservative,
That's just a soundbite.
Yeah,
it's
that's
got
all it
nothing to do
is.
with reality.
And that's my point. And maybe at some point beyond my lifetime they were, but they're no longer that. And so it's just,
Well, what's their claim to fame? Is Lincoln, right?
yeah.
It's like, motherfucker, that was 160 something years ago. Let it go already.
Yeah.
Lincoln was great. You ain't the party
Like
of Lincoln
if you have
anymore.
if you have to go back to Abraham Lincoln to prove your point, like you're missing the boat, bro. Like,
We were
that's the
something
point.
when top hats were a thing. Like, shut
Yeah.
the fuck up.
It's like, look at the size of this man's mandible. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? You know what I mean? And so it's just all ridiculous to me, and I'm so tired of it. It's to the point where I just don't even want to get involved in politics, but I know that I still have to be involved in politics because, like it's important to me,
Yeah. Well, the word have to be is that's kind of strong. You
That's true.
choose to be.
I choose to be.
I got into politics through the back door. At first, my interest was piqued by my stepfather because he was into politics.
Yeah.
So starting with the Nixon administration, I started becoming aware of politics. But I was never into it at all. I was eligible to vote in 1982. I did not vote for the first time until 1992. I never really thought it made a difference. My life was always the same no matter who was in office. And that's still pretty much true. But I think what drew me in was seeing people debate who were not debating on facts.
Right.
They were debating on their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely disagree with that perspective. Like, I am happy, as you know, as you've experienced firsthand for 20 years now, to debate ideas, concepts, theories, all that stuff. I will not debate facts.
Yeah. It's pointless.
And some things have facts to them. There are immutable and irrefutable, and I will not debate that. Just like I won't debate a flat earth idiot. I will drown him in a bucket if I have a bucket handy. I won't debate the guy because he's too stupid to debate.
Yeah.
Why am I going to debate something that was settled 2,500 fucking years ago? Yes, before the voyages of Christopher Columbus, the world knew that the earth was round.
That's right.
Okay, stop fucking basing your shit on children's books. By the way, that's literal. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, we teach.
But the whole thing that is taught in schools today in America about Christopher Columbus was based on fictional books by Washington Irving, same guy that wrote Sleepy Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
There was no debate about fucking round
In
Earth.
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That was Washington Irving, homie. And yeah, he did sail the ocean blue, but he was a fuck up. He was.
But do you know how he fucked up? I find this to be very interesting.
Well, it was something he was using the wrong unit of measurement or something like that. I forgot what
That's
it was.
correct.
Something.
The nautical mile had become the de facto standard for sailing.
Yeah.
For navigating the oceans, and right now I'm not recalling the name of the system that was used prior to that. But Columbus grew up on that system. He had been sailing since he was a young man, since he was like 12 or 13 on his father's vessels, he and his brother. And to his credit, the only thing that I am willing to give Columbus credit for is being really, really good at navigating trade winds. That's why he was hired, because he was excellent at getting through all the rough waters and going against the tide and all that kind of thing, whatever it is that fucking sailors do.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he was refusing to use nautical miles, he miscalculated everything.
Yeah.
Because if you're aiming for India and you hit the Caribbean, you are a up.
Yeah, that's wow, right? Like, it's like, land, you must be Indians. Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we're
And they
Indians.
were like, no, 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 we have our own names. Oh, no, listen, I'm the
Yeah.
explorer. I know.
Taino.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was a cruel, horrible human being who sold children into sex slavery and punished people in really violent ways. Like if they stole, he would cut their arm off at the forearm and just hard. He was, and by the way, none of this is conjecture. None of this is theory. None of this is the imagination of an author. It comes from his own diaries. You know, Columbus kept a very detailed diary / journal, whatever, and he chronicled his own life at this time. So, you know, no, again, something that we're not going to debate. This motherfucker admitted to war crimes and, you know, just horrible things that he was doing to human beings because he didn't think that there was a consequence for that.
Right. And that's how, you know, that's really what it is. And those are stories that we don't really tell in school, maybe because, you know, how horrible they are. You know?
And by the way, for Italians out there, whom I love, Columbus wasn't Italian. You got to stop that.
Yes.
He never wrote in Italian, never spoke in Italian. He didn't fuck Italian women. If he was Italian, he was the worst Italian ever, okay? You know, his two women, one was from Portugal, which I believe was his wife. The woman who he had a child with was from Spain or vice versa. But they, you know, and even, you know, this is the one where some Italians who refuse to let go of the mythology, they like to throw this down as the mic drop, you know, like, oh, he was born in Genoa. Yeah, but Genoa was previously a Spanish province, I believe called Liturgia or something like that, or Liguria. I forget the exact name. So, suck a dick. You're wrong. He wasn't Italian. You've got Robert De Niro. Just fucking live with that, you know.
Also, it's sauce, not gravy. Deal with it.
It can be either. You still don't have that right.
I don't want it.
I know you want to be right about this. You're just not.
I just like to infuriate the gravy guys. That's all. I don't know what the difference is. I think one of them has meat and one of them it's sauce, man.
That's it. The sauce is meatless. Gravy has meat in it. It's no big deal.
It's ridiculous. Stop it. Anyway,
Italian people, the views expressed by Chancleta do not necessarily reflect the attitudes and beliefs of the persistent rumor.
Listen, I'm married to an Italian. I'm going to get shit about it later. We're fine. All right?
I was married to an Italian, and we're still friends. Yeah. So, of course, I don't care if I piss her off.
It's fine.
And I know she's going to see this. So I don't give a shit.
That's good. It's fine.
Hi, Janine. I love you.
This is more pointed at her than anything else, really. Like this
whole thing, the last 5 minutes was just a fuck you to my ex-wife.
That's just, hey, it's fucking sauce, man. For no reason. I don't need provocation. It's like, let's get into a debate about sauce and gravy. It's ridiculous. I love it.
That's so funny. Yeah. Absurdity. Well, back to the topic at hand. Politics is it's one of those things where for me, I just couldn't sit back and watch people just talk about bullshit. So I jumped in and I wound up accidentally educating myself about politics and the economy and, you know, the military, all this shit that I really had only a cursory knowledge of prior to that. And it really started for me in Bushy's term, because he was a clown, you know, and I'm talking about Bush the Dumber, not Bush the Elder. He was just a fucking clown.
Yeah.
He was a puppet. Dick Cheney worked him. Karl Rove worked him. The whole system took advantage of how stupid he is and how unaware he is, and, you know, enriched themselves, but unfortunately got America into 2 illegal wars where millions of innocent people have died. And, you know, and hopefully we're finally going to get out of those wars under President Biden, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, I've heard
18 fucking years, man. I think World War II was like 4 years.
shit. I've heard it before, man. I hope it's true this time, but it's just I don't. It's hard for me to put faith in these politicians. I just like look. So far, so good. I'm not complaining. I just, it's just I've been let down so much at this point. I almost expect it at this point, So I just take it with a grain of
This is a
salt.
sad day. You sound like a woman.
I'm gonna shave my beard. No.
So you look more like a woman?
Yeah, the thing is, hit the froze. You know what I mean? Like let my boobs sag a little bit more. Just get fatter.
A little bit more.
Yeah, just get fatter. That's all. Just complain about life while I'm eating bonbons. It's the way to go.
Well, if you get a sex change, if you go whole hog all the way in, then you're about the size that I'd be attracted to.
That's good to know. It's good to have options.
Oh, come on. I'm kidding. I'm attracted to you now.
That's true. That is true. Wait till I get a 4K camera. I don't know what that means.
Oh, delightful.
Oh, yeah.
So what else is going on, man? Anything exciting going on in your private life, in your world?
Nah, man, I'm fucking good. Update on the on the mental health progress, man. I'm feeling great these days. I think part of it is I did get a new job. I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think my attitude's been changing little by little, and just I've noticed that I'm not reacting to things in anger anymore. It's kind of relieving, honestly, and I think just me making the effort and everything it feels almost as if the universe is responding to me in a rewarding way. Just sort of like, hey, good job. You know what I mean? Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Things are going to work out for you. Not to say that it's like they're laying out cash for me and shit like that, but it's like, you start making the effort and you start putting your best foot forward and things start to work out, things start to work out well. And so even my relationship with my wife, we're separated, which I've mentioned before, but the thing is, the really interesting thing is that my relationship is better than it's ever been. It's better than any relationship I've ever had. Yet we're separated. I get to see my daughter very often. It's really nice. I'll probably get to see her more often thanks to this new job.
Right.
Just because of the location and everything, which I'm sure you figured out. You guys are smart. Yeah, so I feel good, and I feel like it's like, all right, cool. Let me just keep making changes, and it's just really just focusing on, small changes every day. Just work on something, get something done. Any progress is better than no progress. So that's just where I'm trying to go, and it's been working out pretty well for me.
Yeah, I was extremely exciting. What the? I was extremely excited to hear about your new job. That's it's just a great thing. But for the people who are listening and maybe are struggling with managing their emotions, maybe not getting the results that they want in their relationships or in their jobs or whatever, can you just kind of go through what changed and how?
For me, what changed was basically just, hearing. First of all, it started with me hearing the same things over and over about how I'm acting, how I make people feel, right? And then so, which we've said a lot, if enough people call you a horse, it's time to buy a saddle, right? And the people that were telling me this are people that I love, people that I don't want to hurt, people that I have no intention of making feel bad in any way or whatever. But sometimes, in anger, I would say things, and I would just say things that that would be hurtful or whatever, and sarcastic, whatever it is, just not making people feel great, right? And then people will be on edge with me, and plus I'm a big guy, so like when I start like speaking in a loud way, I'm not always aware that it's like, oh, people are already fucking on edge because I'm just this enormous guy that it's like, you know what, like it's like if you raise a gorilla, right, from a baby, and now he's a 800-pound gorilla, right? And it's like, you know how strong this motherfucker is. It's like, what happens if he just swings his arm one day, right? So that's the kind of nervousness that I bring to people. I just don't realize it that's the case. So, you know, I've never swung and I never hit anybody. That's not the point. The point is that I do make people nervous. And so the issue is that at one point I had to accept that. I had to accept, okay, so what do I do now? And then part of what I had to do was just be mindful of what I'm doing, and start paying attention to the things that I say and the things that I think, and then just like really like examine them. I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. There were things that were making me angry. I had a conversation with you about silly things that my mom would say or whatever. And it's been sort of like that for my whole life. Like, she would just say something that was silly. She didn't mean anything by it. It was just a silly thing she would ask. And I would get upset about it. I was like, why would you ask me that? It's just so ridiculous. Like, are you going to put ketchup on your fries? The fuck do you care if I'm putting ketchup on my fries for? So, like, I would get up in arms about that. Like, you know, what's the point? You know why my mother's asking that? So she can get the ketchup for me. That's it. That's all she was asking me for. Are you going to put ketchup on your fries so I can go and get the ketchup for you? But I want to get
annoying woman.
I want to get upset about that, right? And it's like, because like it's like, I got it. I don't need you to, like, you know, wait on me hand and foot and everything, like whatever. But the fact that somebody's asking you that, right? And you're getting upset about that, it's not because of what she said. It's because of how I interpret that. Right. And so everything came down to what I am interpreting, what I am taking from it. I decided that was a silly question. It isn't a silly question, right? It was a caring question. And so I needed to decide that that's what it was. And as soon as I decided that that's what it was, my perspective changed. And so everything in my life became about that. It became about listening to what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. And does it make sense? Is that a hill I want to die on? Right? Because there are things that are important to me that I will not allow. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's certain boundaries within relationships and things like that, you know, okay, this is not what we cross. We don't got to go fucking blow up about it or whatever. But the idea is that you listen to it. You re-examine, re-evaluate things in your life, because a lot of the things that I realized that I was holding on to, and a lot of the things that I was being angry about, it was stuff that I've probably made up when I was 13. So I'm consulting a 13-year-old into how I should be reacting to something, and I'm a grown man. I'm 43 years old, and it's like, this is not the way this should be, right? So when you start to re-examine these beliefs in your head, whatever they are, and you do it with a sound mind and really just be honest with yourself, like, hey, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And that's okay. Accept that. And then figure out a better way to interpret something, right? And the more that you do that, the more of the habit that you do that, I find myself doing it all the time now. Everything from how I talk to my coworkers, how I talk to the people I manage, how I talk to, everybody, my mom, my brother, my relationships are better overall. I don't get into tiffs with anybody anymore, right? Because it was a decision that I made, and it was evaluations that I decided to do. I'm not a superhero. I'm not a genius. I'm not anything that, would give me an exception to what, to accomplish this. It was just a decision, and it's as easy as anything I've ever done.
Excellent. Yeah. And, of course, these are the things that we talk about all the time. And everything you said is if people look back at our episodes, you're going to see these conversations over and over again, because ultimately nothing in your world changed.
Exactly.
The only thing that changed is how you were looking at the world. And when you changed how you were looking at the world, suddenly you had new reactions to your world.
Yeah.
And suddenly your world had new reactions to your new reactions.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So everything changes when you stop and understand everything that you just described. It was spot on. You know, you started off with, hey, I'm going to take feedback from the people who care about me and the people who love me, who obviously have my best interest in heart.
Right.
You know, they're not looking to hurt me. They have no agenda. They just want me to be as good a person as I can be. So they're giving me this feedback and saying, hey, man, the way you're behaving is challenging.
Right.
You know, or at worst, it's hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
So you first have to be able to accept that kind of feedback and then acknowledge that it's a problem, right? And then go about addressing the problem. And the only way to address the problem, and again, you described this beautifully, is to reconsider how you're thinking about the things that they brought up.
Precisely.
You know, like what a beautiful way to manage your emotions than the example that you gave about you and your mother. Here you were just being like, oh my God, this bitch is annoying me.
Yeah.
Why is she asking me about the fucking ketchup? I don't give a shit.
Right.
But then it was like, oh my God, she just wanted to know if she needs to get me ketchup. Like, what a loving gesture that is.
Right.
What a caring person she is.
Yeah.
You know?
That's all it was.
And so her side of the equation didn't change at all. She's still doing what she's doing, but because you're seeing it differently, because you gave it a new definition, suddenly it's a whole new world.
Right.
Right? That's fucking amazing. And then, of course, is the discipline and consistency of making sure that you're constantly monitoring yourself. And when I say that, it's not like it's an arduous task. It's not like you get to the end of the day going, oh my God, I'm exhausted from paying attention to the shit that comes out of my mouth. You know, no, it's just you're mindful. Another perfect way to describe that. You're just being mindful. I believe wholeheartedly in mindfulness. I know that mindfulness changed my entire life. Okay? So all it is, hey, I'm going to pay attention to the moment, whatever moment I'm in.
That's what's really interesting about meditation that I've discovered. It's like, you know, for some reason, and I think a lot of people believe this, it's like some sort of meditation is like you have to try to quiet your brain down. And what I realize is that there's no way to quiet your brain down. Like you can't just shut off your brain. But what it does allow you to do, it allows you to focus more, right? It allows you to relax and really like be in your mind. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that you start to see how thoughts process what's happening. If you're feeling upset about something, you know, the meditation helps you sort of like just focus on why is that happening, and this is how I've been able to make sense of, you know, what's bothering me. Like, why am I upset about this? Like, you know, because that's the thing. It's like, pay attention to your emotions and like really work them out. And it's like, okay, because I don't like feeling angry. At least, you know, this is what I decided since this started in the beginning of the year. I said, I don't like feeling angry anymore. You know, this never helps me out. Like, I'm probably going to be angry about something at some point in my life, but there are things that I'm angry about that I shouldn't be angry about because, for example, the thing with my mom, you know, I would get angry. Like my wife at one point was scared. Like she was just, she told me a story about how she thought she lost my debit card and she thought I was going to fucking lose it. And she was so worried about that to the point where she got my daughter worked up, right? And so and I'm like, you know, yeah, I was just gonna say, what the you know, and so that's probably how I would have responded. I would have been like, what the how you gonna lose my debit card? I'm gonna call the bank now and whatever. And so that is not how you treat a loved one. Like, she just lost a debit card. This shit
Yeah.
happens, right? And so
Yeah.
I call the bank, I get a new one, I cancel my other one, it's fine. So
Right.
you can decide that you want to get upset about it if that's your prerogative. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to hurt the people that I love. I also don't want them to feel that anxiety about telling me something.
Right. Well,
Like, who the wants that?
you know, I said to you when you described that kind of dynamic, I
Yeah.
said, it sounds like your wife has PTSD because of you.
Right. And so and so these are things that ends up happening, and they gradually just become become a part of your life. And then you find out, oh, you contributed to all of that yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's and this is what I mean about me being an asshole. Like, I've caused that for someone that I love. I cause someone to feel like weird about telling me things. Like, they feel anxiety about, being, telling me the truth, because they're afraid that I'm gonna lose my shit,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, like, I gotta chill with that, right? And because it's like, because here's the thing, right? Like, you don't fix it, okay, it's just going to keep perpetuating to the next relationship. You
Yeah.
can't just move, you know what I mean? Because it's
Well,
like,
even before skipping ahead to that, which of course is true, you are jeopardizing a relationship that you want to be in, and doing so with the full capacity to make different choices.
right,
That's the frustrating part of being, now in hindsight, you could see that you had the choice all along.
correct.
You had the capacity and the knowledge to do this, because you and I have been talking about this stuff for a long time, but that doesn't matter if you don't have the willingness. If you don't even acknowledge that there's an issue, there's nothing to address.
Exactly. And that's where it starts, really. The acceptance is that where that needs to start. It's like
Yeah.
anything else, honestly. Like, you can't make somebody quit smoking cigarettes if they don't want to quit smoking cigarettes. You can't
Right.
make someone lose weight, whatever it is. If they don't want to do it, if they don't admit to themselves that this is where they want to go, then it's not going to happen. So
That's
that's
like
the
me
first.
with kicking off with sandpaper.
I hear you. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, really chafes your willy. No matter how much lube I use.
Yeah.
It's,
No, no, I love everything you're saying. I
yeah,
absolutely love it, because this is when I hear people finally break through all of the shit that they had in their head about life, it's beautiful. Like
yeah,
your world is now changed, and as if to put a fucking fine point on it, as a reward, the universe was like, "Oh yeah, not only are you happier, but here's a new fucking job for you."
right. And
And
so,
of course, I don't believe in that direct correlation, but it's just an interesting coincidence that right after you finish the
yeah,
process of tearing down your old belief systems and engineering your behavior, then suddenly you get this amazing fucking new job.
yeah, and it was just a thing where it's like, oh, it just kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I was like, I really wasn't actively looking for a new job. I had a pretty good job. I was fine. And it's
Hmm.
sort of just kind of landed on my lap. And, and that's why I say it's sort of like, I feel like I'm being rewarded, like the universe is just sort of like, hey, all right, cool, good job, attaboy, keep it up. I've been able to just really, just kind of just slowly just get things out of my life that just haven't been working for me, right? Everything from managing my finances to just day-to-day living, my eating habits, so I'm just trying to like slowly just implement new things that'll work better for me. And we're talking 6 months into this now, and it's like I feel much better. I don't feel bummed out all the time. You know what I mean? I don't feel this desperation. I feel like things are good in my life. I feel like, all right, cool. Like, you know what I mean? I'm doing things that are more productive because, you know, it's what I want to do now. So
Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a fair statement. And please correct me if I'm wrong. That I know you better than just about anybody, with the exception of your wife, and I see the difference. I can, I pay attention to every fucking thing.
Yeah,
to the point of annoyance, right?
Yeah. You never. I think in the 20 years that I've known you, you never let me get away with any bullshit. So it's great.
And, because I got to be a valuable friend to you, just like you're a valuable friend to me. And I like every time we talk now about what's happening in your life, I hear how the narrative has changed.
Yeah.
I can hear the perspective change that you have. I can hear the new definitions that you've created for life.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is, man. Like it almost seems too easy to be true. But if you change the way you define things in your life, you wind up changing your whole life.
It's a cheat code for life, dude.
It is a cheat code for life. It really is.
It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like one of those things that you would read and start a cult with. But quite honestly, it really is that simple. It's not a very hard thing. Like we all do this. We're all guilty of this. Like you got to think about, the way that you grow up. Like, you start, you grow up and you start making assessments of things. I remember very vividly, like being worried about, well, what happens when I'm older? Like, I don't know how to pay the rent. I don't know how to pay the light bills. How do I get a place to live? And like, I would concern myself with this. And so eventually I figured it out. But as I developed all of these things in my head, as I pondered all these questions in my head, I also made a decision about how those things would get handled. And you do that with emotions. You do that with a lot of things. Like how do you handle a situation with a girlfriend? You learn it from learned behavior, from watching your parents or from watching friends or whatever the case is. And so you make a lot of these decisions and assessments when you're young, and you carry that into your adulthood without reevaluating any of this stuff. And it just falls apart because you're not doing it with a mature mind, and you're just like going with what's been working or not working for you, and you have no idea why it's not.
Right.
And so I'm here to tell you that's probably all it is.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I remember being so caught up when I was a child trying to figure out, like, how do you murder hookers and get away with it?
That's why they made Grand Theft Auto. It's like every growing boy thought about that. I got you.
You were not alone.
Yeah. Well, she let me f*** you, and I got to kill you.
That's hilarious.
What the f*** is that about?
Oh man. Well, this is great. This is music to my ears. People don't understand how much I love hearing somebody break through the barriers that they themselves placed in front of them without realizing it, and get to the other side of it and experience life in a completely different way.
It's so much
wonderful.
better.
I love it.
Really
And yeah, it's great even when I can do that for a stranger. Like I have interactions with strangers all the time, and I have people, ask me, people that don't know me at all, like ask me advice about what's going on in their life, just because that's just how I am, right?
Yeah.
And of course it's gratifying to be able to contribute to someone's life. But generally speaking, if it's a stranger, I'm not going to get the follow-up to find out what happened.
Right.
So because you and I interact all the time, when we have these conversations, and then, I get to see 3 months, 6 months, a year later, the fruit that was born from those conversations. It's beautiful. It's
I mean,
beautiful.
yeah, I get it, man. I mean, I feel good just talking about it, honestly. It's for a while I felt vulnerable talking about it. I felt like,
Sure.
oh, it's like want to, but I for me I felt like I needed to do that. It's almost like part of me just wanted that accountability. I feel like if I'm telling my truth, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling whoever's watching, which a lot of the people that are watching are people that know me.
Yeah.
I am putting myself in a point of accountability, so
Yes.
that if I'm saying some bullshit on here, that somebody's calling me on it in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll put a link to episode 1 of the podcast, the official launch of the Persistent Rumor podcast, because that's the one where we have this great conversation
Yeah.
that is the beginning, at least publicly, the beginning of what you just saw culminated today.
Yeah.
So I think it would be great to watch those things back to back. And right now they're still free of charge. So take advantage of that while it lasts, because it ain't going to last forever.
You know what I found myself doing a while back that's interesting, and I feel like a lot of humans do this. It's like I do it mostly for comedy, right? But there are certain things that I do that's not for comedy, and I'll tell you what that is. If I'll be alone in my car or whatever, and I'll see somebody walking by, and I'll make an absurd, really off base like commentary about their life, right? And like whatever, it's like he looks like that dude looks like he was born in a ranch, and it's like,
By the way, I do that too. I love doing that.
lost his virginity at 10, worked at a steel mill till he was 16, like what I mean. It's like and I'll do weird shit like that all the time, and I do it mostly for for fun, like comedy, almost like I'm trying to do improv or whatever. So
Right.
so that's fun, but what I also do is that I have arguments in my head about shit that's probably never going to happen.
Right. You're preparing for the argument that never happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the fight or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
I wish you would tell me that shit, right? And so those are that's one of those things
I
that...
still catch myself doing that, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah. So now it's like this thing where it's like, because I've been, it's like I've been in a state of being mindful. I catch myself doing it, and I'm just like, oh, so I'm laughing now, and I stop it because it's just like, that's, like let me not get into the habit of getting into arguments. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
well,
like
that's a good pattern interrupt. I find that laughter is a very effective pattern interrupt.
Yes,
Because I am tempted to sometimes be judgmental of the thoughts that I have, but as you said earlier, you can't stop your brain from thinking. Dean Slider, who's amazing when it comes to meditation, author, Huffington Post contributor, and someone that I'm fortunate enough to have met and spoken to in real life, has had a great line about that. He said, waiting until your mind calms down to meditate is like saying, I'm only going to get into the ocean as soon as the waves stop.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not something that happens. Your brain is designed to think. It literally thinks 24 hours a day.
Right.
While you're awake, it has this one function. While you're asleep, it's like, oh, good, we're not fucking dealing with this guy now. Let's deal with this whole other thing.
Right.
So 24-hour brain, it's going all the time. Billions of bits of information processed and created every single fucking day. So no, you're not going to fucking stop that from happening.
No.
But what you can do is recognize what's happening and choose what to do with that. So when I have a thought where either I'm relitigating an argument from 20 fucking years ago that obviously can't be changed, or I'm fantasizing about an argument that's never going to happen, I can laugh at that now and just interrupt that pattern that way, and just get a good fucking genuine laugh about the dumb shit that I think sometimes.
Yeah. That's what it's about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you catch yourself like thinking these silly thoughts or whatever. And you go, wow. And to me now it's laughable. It's like, wow, I thought that. It's like, why, like it you know what it feels like? It feels like what I would imagine you waking up one day going, I've been racist this whole time. Like, Like that's you know what I mean? It's just
My
like, you know,
clan brothers are going to be shocked.
yeah, because it's like, wow, I really have been a dick for like a long time. You know what I
That's
mean?
like,
Not,
I'm not gay, but all the guys in my bathhouse are.
yeah, you're right. Yeah. And so thankfully, what I'm grateful for is that I haven't been enough of an asshole to just, you know,
Yeah, you didn't go
I want,
scorched earth.
yeah, I didn't go scorched earth, but,
Yeah.
you know, like I still have people that love me in my life. I'm grateful for what I do have. I have a great relationship with the people I love, my daughter, you know, my wife, my mom, my brother. And so everybody's so supportive. My sister-in-law, I can't thank everybody enough. Like, it's just, you know, like, cause you know, everybody's heard the worst. Everybody's heard all the bullshit. And I've been as clear as I could have been, without leaving any details out. And I've just been like, yeah, you know, and people are still by my side and got my back. And it's like, this is great. So that's it, man. You know,
Good
just,
stuff.
yeah, just
Good stuff. That's
feeling
again.
good.
I don't think I could possibly be happier for you. You know, you just your victories are my victories. I feel, whether you think so or not, I don't care. But I really do rejoice in the good things that not only the good things that happen to you, but especially the good things that you create, because you can take full ownership of this change that has come about. This was totally you. You know, yes, you have me as your consigliere. You have the people in your life to support you. Of course, all that's always been true. But you were the one that finally made the decision to make the changes that led to the state of life that you're living right now. And that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, man. It feels great. You know, it feels like an accomplishment. That's really what
it
feels
certainly
like.
is.
So, you know,
it certainly is. And what's great is that as time goes on, you get to build up a catalog of, you know, new ways of behaving and new serenity and new peace of mind. And, you know, I'm happy to say that since I've been doing this, since I was 23 years old, I have now not been an asshole for longer than I was an asshole.
Well, that's good. I look forward to that day, sir, for myself. Yes.
It's a wonderful thing that happens in your life when you're like, oh yeah, that is truly behind me now. Now I am not that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and you live in a new way. And, you know, look, man, it doesn't matter what your finances are. It doesn't matter what car you drive. The only thing that matters in your life, in my opinion, based on my experience, based on my observations, is the quality of relationships that you have with the people that you care about. That's it.
Sure. Yeah, that's
That
it.
is what life is. That's the whole fucking ball game. We know this. For me, it's irrefutable. It's not debatable. You can't tell me that a new car is better than a good relationship with your brother. You can't tell me that a big house is better than a good relationship with your mother.
Yeah.
Okay? Those things are great. Wanting those things are fine. It is fine. But you really have to understand what the true value of life is.
Yeah.
And, you know,
every human
we're
craves
coming
connection.
up on the 20th. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Every human, we all crave connection. We all, that's our
absolutely.
driving force. Yeah.
And, you know, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And I can tell you that when they started playing back the voicemails of the people that knew they were about to die, if nothing else teaches you what the value of life is, nothing can.
Yeah.
Because you know, these people knew they were going to die. They did not call their banker. They did not call their lawyer. They did not call their financial manager. They did not call the people that they hated the most to tell them how much they hated them. They called the person that they loved the most to tell them how much they loved them.
Yeah.
That's fucking life, everybody.
Everybody did the same thing. And that's what it is. Right.
Yeah. And that's a good note to close on. Thank you all for joining us again. Thanks once again to all our supporters, paid members, supporters that are liking us on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's thepersistentrumor.com, or on Facebook, it's The Persistent Rumor. On Patreon, it's The Persistent Rumor. On YouTube, it's The Persistent Rumor. And, you know, we love you. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and granola. We are out.
Dos.